What's going on? It's your man, Diamond K, theDiamondKShow.com, ONFIRE-TV.com, the January 6th hearings. We're going to get into some reactions, some takeaways, and we're going to do that right after this.
Visit ONFIRETV.com for live top stories, breaking news, and original shows.
Welcome back. Welcome back. It was not clear what the country could expect to find from the January 6th Select Committee's beginning presentations. Their findings, they kicked off day one in prime time. What does that mean? Evening, after everybody's off work for the most part. Opening day hearing, Thursday night. There was a lot of new information. There was. And it was presented in a very calm and cogent way. We were able to understand what was happening from the perspective of several insiders of the Trump inner circle, several police officers who experienced firsthand. I have a lot of takeaways. The committee transported the viewers back to January the 6th. They gave behind the scenes, up close video of what happened that day. They also made a very strong case that former President Donald Trump was the central character responsible for what happened. Let me say that again. They made a very strong case that former President Donald Trump was the central character responsible for the insurrection that happened January the 6th. There was on-camera testimony by people closest to him. His daughter. They showed footage of his daughter, Ivanka. Ivanka broke with him over his election lies, his claims that the election was stolen. Probably his second favorite person in the world, Ivanka. The election was not stolen from Trump. He lost the election. Those that are closest to him knew it. Oh, but he didn't want to hear it. Can you imagine a person that's been knocked out in a boxing match, and after the decision happens, or they lost, they come back, no, I didn't lose, I wasn't knocked out, it was a conspiracy, the judges, all that kind of stuff. That's the kind of boxer Donald Trump would be. Get knocked out and try to deny it. Despite Republican leaders who once criticized Trump for his role, they quickly reversed course just because politically it would gain them some favor with him. We've been dealing with a lot of things. The committee hopes it all breaks through with most Americans. I don't know if it will. But, especially at a time as fewer are blaming Trump as being responsible for the insurrection, not like they did immediately following it. This has been dragged out. I wish that the committee could have come up with this sooner. But hey, it is what it is. The Democrat-Republican gap, it becomes wider, but this is not a political party issue. Not a political party issue. Conservative media is doing all that it can do to circle the Trump wagons and try to downplay the committee's findings. The conservative media would have you believe that this was just a field trip. This was just a MAGA field trip. This was not a MAGA field trip. A lot of takeaways, though. One thing that really sits with me when I listen to the police testimony, the black officers, they're crying, they're so sad. How could I be called the N-word? I'm wearing the uniform. Take a quick break.
Visit ONFIRETV.com for live top stories, breaking news, and original shows. On Fire TV is a streaming network for a generation on the move.
We're back. There has been so much. We saw officers who were attacked by the mob, and they're passionate. They're upset, naturally, right? Some of the black officers were, taken back by the racism that they were shown. Many of them incorrectly thought that donning the officer's uniform would somehow protect them from the racism. They foolishly thought that the people that claim to support the blue, the same people that supported them during the Black Lives Matter protests, really support the blue police officers. You clearly see in this insurrection that that's not the case. They may support actions that the officers take, but when the officers take an action that separate the mob from the police, then they no longer support the police, because they never supported the police. They never did. You can clearly see that. So these officers, the other takeaway I have never seen any officers take as much abuse as these officers did. Police have shot unarmed folks for so much less, but yet they stood there being pepper sprayed, being hit with objects, verbally abused, their commands being ignored, and they pretty much did nothing. That part right there is just shocking to me. I've seen unarmed people cooperating that the police have killed. But they stood there as all of these people disrespected them, were armed, disobeying their commands, taking their weapons, just all their stuff, just like smashing them. And they stay there, oh. They exercise so much restraint. Where was the lethal force? I want to make it home to my family, so I got to bust off one. Where was that? Oh, when these officers are in real threat, real danger, they do nothing. This was a time when an officer could have let off his clip and he would have been justified. Oh, but there were not a lot of clips let off. No. And why? These were mostly white guys in the mob. But a single black guy, unarmed, they'll unload the clip, shoot him in the chest, shoot him in the back, put this knee in his neck. But I guess, it's something different when it's a white mob coming at you. They did everything that they could but draw their weapons. A lot of new facts, a lot of new information was revealed. This is true. Not previously publicly seen video, police body camera footage, Capitol hallway office footage, as well as police radio communication. Oh, they laid it out. Conservative media can try. You can try to ignore it. I thought you loved the Boys in the Blue. Boys in the Blue were having a rough time. The Boys in Blue were having a rough time. Donald Trump's Attorney General, Bill Barr, told investigators in his on-camera deposition that he told Trump that his allegations of election fraud were BS, and he said it out. Barr revealed this in his book, but it carries a different weight with him telling it and us watching him say it to the congressional committee. Ivanka Trump, the former president's daughter and a former senior advisor in his White House, said that she accepted what Barr had to say. I respect Attorney General Barr, she was shown on video saying. So I accepted what he was saying. That's Trump's most that his favorite, one of his favorite people in the world. Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, General Mark Milley, said that Vice President Mike Pence was being direct and wanting the military's help at the Capitol. The response from the White House, on the other hand, was very, very different. Chief of Staff Mark Meadows, Milley said, wanted instead to shape a narrative that Trump was in control. Trump was in control because he sent them fools there. Milley said that reeked of politics, 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 and it was a red flag. General Milley, that was the red flag? Like not all the other stuff that you've seen him do? That was the red flag? Ooh, this is the red flag. We need to get his prescription checked. That was the red flag. Cheney said that Rep. Scott Perry and multiple other Republican congressmen sought presidential pardons for their roles in attempting to overturn the 2020 election. Oh, these other days of testimony and presentation, they're going to get good. They're going to get good. New text messages between Fox News host Sean Hannity and then White House press secretary Kayleigh McEnany were shown. Former campaign advisor Jason Miller saying on camera that he told Trump in pretty blunt terms that he was going to lose. Oh, there was a lot of revelations. Trump lawyer Alex Cannon affirming there was no evidence of widespread election fraud or the election being stolen. But Trump ignored all of this and has continued to tell this lie. Proud Boys and Oath Keepers on camera saying that they went to the Capitol that day because they believed that's what Trump wanted done. They felt he'd asked them to do it, and that after Trump's stand back and stand by remark in the debate, membership tripled. It's all being laid out. As if you didn't already know, it's being laid out clearly. The videos, the production was effective. It's very tough to command and keep an audience attention in prime time for a congressional hearing. A lot of other things that people could be watching on TV. We won't know how many people tuned in until a little bit later. But the video stood out as being very powerful and exactly what the American people needed to see. It effectively cut between Trump's speech on January the 6th to show how it was egging on the crowd that later went to assault police officers, desecrate the Capitol, disrespect this country. It was very telling. It's showing the rioters were operating outside of the law against the police, a group that Trump claims to hold up outside of the law. It's supposed to be law and order, right? Republicans are supposed to be law and order, right? Not what we saw. The presentation was also effective in showing Trump's tweets and seeing militant members in the crowd, needing a mob fired up, literally reading from Trump's tweets through a bullhorn, almost as marching orders. All of this because former President Trump could not handle losing. And he lied to his crowd of supporters. He continues to lie. The violence from this mob, striking officers, and Trump saying just 5 days later, after this attempted coup, that this was a peaceful mob. More lies. More lies. Video also notably shows staffers from Republican leader Kevin McCarthy's office racing for the doors. McCarthy originally criticized Trump and asked for him that day to call off the crowd, only to do an about face as he saw the House speakership on the horizon and he needed Trump's base of supporters. So he did the political thing. The political thing. The committee went after Trump, painting him as a rogue and dangerous president, which is true. Which is true. The committee, particularly Liz Cheney, made a very strong case that former President Trump is a threat to democracy. A rogue and temperamental character who didn't listen to the advice from anyone who disagreed with him about his election narrative, which is a lie. Donald Trump is a liar. Pretty much everyone around Trump knew the truth, but they could not tame or control him. Not his daughter, not the attorney general. Right? It is it is shocking to see that this country was this close to what we saw. In new text from January 7th, Hannity tells McEnany no more stolen election talk, and that the 25th Amendment possibility of the cabinet removing Trump from office was real. McEnany takes it as good advice, saying, "Love that. Thank you. This is the playbook. Thank you for your help." Cheney made the case that Trump did not want to stop the riot, that he was yelling and angry at advisors who were telling him that he needed to do more, and that he was watching on TV and aware of rioters chanting, "Hang Mike Pence." What was Trump's response to that? Trump's response to the hanging of probably the single person who's been the most loyal to him. According to Cheney, maybe our supporters have the right idea. Mike Pence deserves it. I don't like Mike Pence. I don't agree with Mike Pence. But I don't think that he deserved to be hanged. Politically, I disagree with him. But I don't think that the guy should be killed or even injured. One of the biggest problems in this country continues to be people not operating or believing in a shared set of facts. Facts. Every other mainstream news channel carried the hearing live. Fox did not. Fox did not. Scared. Instead, it spun out narratives furthering Trump's lies, downplaying the evidence presented. Fox's audience was treated to narratives that, downplayed the committee's work, as well as a cast of Trump supporters, including Senator Mike Lee of Utah and former Trump administration officials like Kash Patel, controversial former chief of staff to the acting Secretary of Defense. It is Stephen Miller, Rance Priebus, Trump supporters. Another thing that's interesting, ironically, Sean Hannity, the very person who had been texting the White House telling them to get Trump to stop election lies, was on TV the same time as this hearing with banners on the screen claiming that they were false narratives, calling it a sham investigation that was orchestrated, or they orchestrated an anti-Trump show trial. The lies continue. The lies continue. The reality is a large portion of this country and many of the very people who need to hear the facts about what happened on January the 6th will never hear them. Not from a primary source. It's going to make it difficult for Americans to get on the same page about what truly happened that day. We may never all get on the same page about this. The lies continue. So we have more days of the public hearings to take place. Next week, there are going to be more hearings. We're going to talk about it. We're going to watch it, and we're going to see. And I think that day one was a success. Now, some of the Republicans, the Fox News crowd that really needs to see this, they may see it, they may not. But ultimately, what has to happen is accountability. Whether the Trump supporters go with it or not, it has to happen. Or this American experiment, I don't know what happens. The blueprint is being laid out for others to follow. We must be careful how we handle this. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section. Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, TikTok, at The Diamond K Show. Of course, ONFIRE-TV.com. I am here weekdays, 6 p.m. Whole lot to talk about. And I feel that we are just getting started with this reliving of the January 6th events. Fascinating times we live in.
On Fire TV is the streaming network for a generation on the move. Visit OnFireTV.com for live top stories,